we can't do this anymore. This is just too much. This is too hard for us to do. The tools that we work with are really hard to deal with. It's hard for us to make this much content. It's just hard making content in general.
What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again once again, and we are just days, not even weeks, into Season of the Worthy, and it is apparent to anyone with a working frontal cortex, or even just, tepid activity above the medulla oblongata, that Season of the Worthy is a joke, a mess, an anti-consumer clusterfuck. Some dastardly scoundrels might even dare to say, very uncharitably might I add, that Season of the Worth is, well, the most phoned-in piece of shit to drag itself out of Luke Smith's ass, since Mark, I don't know how to play my class noseworthy.
Luke would look at me, he never plays a game with me, I'm just not good enough for him or whatever. Then he's like, what the hell are you doing with your warlock, man? You got this helmet on with that thing, and you got this thing all agility, you gotta set up all wrong. What do you even know how to play this game? I'm ashamed.
At worst, it's a clear indication of just how fucking stupid Bungie believes the remaining player base to be. Pick your poison. Regardless, it is a stark reminder of what I said nearly a year ago today. Activision didn't kill Destiny, Bungie did.
I am Nostradamus, the voice of God.
And it is becoming painfully clear that the best part of Destiny dripped off of Bungie's backside when Activision kicked them to the curb like a 2-cent whore. Look, I'm not here to suckle at the short shriveled schlong of Bobby Kotick, or whomever the fuck's in charge of Activision. I'm sure they can pay whatever passes as a games journalist these days to do just that, and it would be far cheaper than my going rates. Colorful euphemisms aside, if it's not painfully clear at this point that the best thing to ever happen to Destiny as a franchise was when Bungie wasn't working on it, and you didn't see that coming a mile away, the last half a year must have been one hell of a wake-up call, displaying for all to see just how much Vicarious Visions and High Moon Studio were carrying the franchise. So where do we even start with this review / first impressions that is the shit show that is Season of the Worth? And I do mean first impressions before somebody gets their panties in a wad going,
"But Joker, the season just started. It's not all out. You don't know how it's gonna transform over the course of the season."
Even though this is the third season, not the first, not the second, and technically speaking, if you wanted to be pedantic, it's actually the 10th season, but hey, fucking details. Anyways, segueing back to something that resembles a point, do we start with the laundry list of bugs and glitches that just shipped, like this was a Bethesda game or something? Do we talk about how there was $150 to $200 worth of items added to the cash shop? Or do we talk about how Bungie removed spaces in the Bright Dust section of the cash shop for BS consumables? Some of which you likely already have dozens if not hundreds of. Do we talk about how there's only one sparrow, one ghost shell, one ship that can be earned through good old-fashioned playing the game? I know, nobody wants to do that. Or how there's only a handful of new weapons, not that it really matters because the Trials weapons are the only ones really worth talking about, not that they're amazing. Take the Seven Seraphs hand cannon for example. Fucking beautiful. Oh wait, no, it's a 180. Okay, you know what? That's not that bad. Sure, it's not a 150, the actual meta, but I mean, with the right perks, it could. Oh wait, all the perks suck as well. I don't know how Bungie assigns weapons perks and stats. I don't know if there's a person who does it, or if it's a random number generator, but if it's a person, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you if you ever watch this, but do you even know what a meta viable weapon looks like? This shit's definitely not meta in PvE, and sure as hell not meta in PvP. Did you just walk into the office one day and throw darts at a board and go, yep, those are the stats we're gonna give it, those are the perks? I mean, is that how this works? Because look, I get the trading card Magic the Gathering logic. You gotta have some crap cards and some crap perks to fill out the gaps between the cool shit and the not so cool shit. But when we only get 23 air quote new weapons, 9 of which are returning faction weapons, 7 are reskinned weapons from Destiny 1, and the rest are Seraph weapons, and the joke of an exotic Tommy's Matchbook, maybe, just maybe, you take a closer look at the weapons and gear that is going to be the rewards for your keystone activity, the entire reason that people are playing this DLC, and make them desirable. But I guess you really don't have to worry about power creep if everything sucks, so I guess there is that. And let's not forget, there is a disturbing lack of air quote new pinnacle weapons. And I say air quote new pinnacle weapons because we did get one air quote new pinnacle weapon. The Iron Banner bow. The bow that was supposed to be in the game last season. But hey, fucking details. So where do we even start? You know what? I want to start with the very premise of this season. Contrary to what the marketing would have you believe, this season's story has very little, if not nothing, to do with Trials of Osiris, even though they named an entire season after it. But hey, weekends are for the worthy, so there is that. The story starts off with Anna, the deserter, and Vuvuzevala boarding the Almighty, and both of them seem to have a ludicrously hard time killing 5 Cabal, even though they're magical super space soldiers with okay. This should be relatively easy, barely an inconvenience, but probably because they're not wearing helmets, it takes Zavala way longer than anyone deems reasonable to get to the bridge, and the Cabal fucking destroy navigation controls. Oh, this was good. Now, you'll remember the Almighty from such great hits as Destiny 2 Electra Boogaloo's main campaign, after the writers figured they needed another way to raise the stakes. In a game where the Cabal had invaded, all Guardians but us had lost their light, and the Cabal had taken the Traveler, it was decided that the Cabal needed an I lose rage quit button, which was, of course, super easy, barely an inconvenience for us to infiltrate and deactivate. While the Cabal Red Legion was at the height of their power in our system, you know, unlike Vuvuzevala and Anna, I'm gonna leave the Battle of Twilight Gap because I feel like it. You know what, I'm just gonna stop thinking about that and talk about the other stupid premises of this story. Now, the Cabal have decided to take the Almighty and set it on a crash course for Earth by disabling its navigation and propulsion and letting it drift through space towards Earth, which is not a fixed object in space. Neither is the Sol system. Also for reference, the distance between the Earth and the Sun is 93 million miles. For reference, it takes a 747, which is your standard commercial airliner, about 19 years to reach the Sun from Earth. But for the sake of argument, we'll assume that the Cabal built up enough speed on the Almighty that even if it's drifting through space, it will be able to close that 93 million mile gap in 3 months. We'll also assume for the sake of argument that it was far enough from the Sun not to be dragged back into the gravitational well of the Sun. And we will also assume for the sake of argument that it is possible to hit the Earth from the Sun while in free fall through space. And that everything was appropriately mathed so that in the 93 million mile trek that it has to go through space to get to Earth, absolutely positively nothing will ever have to be adjusted. And there are, in fact, trillions of small calculations that you would have to make at every leg of the trip to get from point A to point B, but hey, fucking details. We'll assume that all of this was planned for. Clearly, Guardians can board the Almighty. So why don't we just go there with a fuck ton of explosives and blow it up? Or call in the Guardian fleet and blow it up. Or, because it's just drifting through space, find out how much mass you'd have to ram into it to send it off course and just do that. Or any number of things that could likely easily be done on a moment's notice. Our brain trust, Anna the Deserter Bray and Vuvuzevala decide we need Rasputin's help. So how do we get Rasputin's help, you may be wondering? Well, we have to go clear out glorified lost sectors, bunkers, and do copy-paste repetitive quests for Rasputin, and then remake obelisks for towers? Obelisks? It's like the same thing. It's the same upgrade path. Also, he can get his Warsat network online, which is what I thought we did at the end of Warmind, but hey, fucking details. And what is the gameplay loop that will facilitate the building of Rasputin's arsenal, you ask? Well, it's Horde mode number 3862, with a smidgen of tower defense and the ball throw mechanic from the Black Armory. And yeah, it's about as lazy and uninspired as it sounds, and it's not really all that engaging. But, you know what? This banal, bland grindfest is here for a reason. For weapons. So why would you play something like this? For the rewards, right? Well, at first glance, some of these things look really fucking cool. But then you look at their perks, and you look at their stats, and, well, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be honest. If you've played Destiny for any amount of time, with any consistency, you probably already have way better weapons than on offer here. And I'm gonna go ahead and address this here and now. The other day, I made a video weighing the pros and cons when it comes to retiring legendary weapons. There is a lot of positives to the idea. However, if the shit we can expect Bungie to come up with is anything like this, to replace our legendary weapons, to entice us to regrind everything out, that's gonna be a hard pass from me. However, as I alluded to earlier, the shit premise of the story and the lackluster tower defense mode isn't the only things to be disappointed with. Booting up Destiny, it's made painfully clear where the bulk of Bungie's dev time went on this release. It wasn't the Horde mode, it wasn't the story, and it sure as hell wasn't Trials of Osiris. It was of course the cash shop with hundreds of dollars of items currently available and soon to be available according to the database. And yet, we couldn't get new strike drops, or updates to old strike drops, or strike drops added to new strikes that never got strike drops. The Trials of Osiris weapons and armor were taken from Destiny 1 and copy and pasted into Destiny 2, and they couldn't even be bothered to make adept weapons for like when you go to the lighthouse. It's all just the same loot regardless of whether you go flawless or not. All I'm saying is the game's not in a healthy place when most of the content that people are playing for, or even buying the DLC for, is reused, reskin, returning content. And that amount of content is far outweighed by what's added to the cash shop every DLC. But there is clearly a demand for it. All in all, Season of the Worthy is doing everything in its power to not be worth your time. Like with all the other Season Pass content, it's a minimally viable product, with very large air quotes around viable. DLC seems to only exist now as a way to expand the cash shop, because people are more inclined to come back and play your game when there's new DLC, and when they come back and play your game because there's new DLC, they're more inclined to buy stuff. But that DLC has shown time again to be diminishing in quality. And it seems to me that Bungie is doing just enough to justify DLC. The sad part is, the best parts of this Destiny 2 DLC is Destiny 1. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to hit that like button if you like this video, subscribe for more if you want more. Hit that notification bell because apparently subscribing doesn't mean anything. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous, but above all else, stay frosty.